Let's get started with today's training, how to find federal agency opportunities that can go into your pipeline. Having a full sales pipeline full of slam dunk opportunities, this is vital to your success as a government contractor in the federal market. How can you write winning proposals if you don't have a full pipeline, or if your pipeline is weak, right? You're not going to be able to do that. How can your company predict the revenue and achieve the revenue goals that it needs to achieve if you have a weak or even empty pipeline? Right? For so many small businesses, you don't even have a pipeline, and a pipeline can be something as simple as a spreadsheet to start, right? You can get fancier tools later, but a pipeline fundamentally says these are the opportunities I want to win, and you want to make sure it is populated, and you begin to fill it out. And that's what I'm going to cover today, right? In today's topic, I'm going to teach you about how to find opportunities, slam dunk opportunities in the federal market that you can add to your sales pipeline. I've mentioned this in previous trainings, but I talk about how every small business should be writing 4 proposals per month. If you're not writing 4 proposals per month, that can seem like a lot, right? But when you have a full sales pipeline, when you're putting slam dunk opportunities into that pipeline, it's going to be easier to do this. It's going to be easier to write 4 proposals a month. And those proposals don't all have to be prime. They can be some prime, and they can be some opportunities that are subcontracting opportunities, and that's totally fine. But participating on 4 proposals a month means you have to have opportunities in your pipeline. Do me a favor, put slam dunk ops into the chat, because that's exactly what you need. You need slam dunk opportunities in your pipeline. So put slam dunk ops into your pipeline. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. When you follow a process A to Z, you're going to have predictable, repeatable results. When you have a full pipeline, you're going to have predictable, repeatable revenue, right? And that's what I want for you. Do me a favor, before we get started, help buyers remember who you are. Put your company name into the chat. Put 2 or 3 keywords that describe your company and what you sell. By the way, if you're open to connections, especially since we're on LinkedIn, put that into the chat. Say, I'm open to connections. If you're somebody who's in my training and I'm telling you to connect with others in the community, you need to understand how to reach out to them. If you see somebody in my training, just connect with them. I'm looking at Marcus. Let me just pull Marcus for a second. First name I saw, I would reach out to Marcus. Hey, Marcus, I saw you in the training with Neil. I'd love to have a connection if you're open to it here on LinkedIn. And then you can begin to see where there might be some synergies. And so when you're putting your company name and your core competency, maybe telling people you're open to connections, maybe saying you're in San Antonio, Texas, or Alaska, or whatever, you're giving other people common reasons for why it might make sense to connect. One reason, though, is you're both here for federal pipeline development, and you're both here for federal government contracting. So there's a commonality there. So the community that is in the chat and comments, that's your community, and I hope you take advantage of it. Finally, I just want to say thank you to the sustaining members of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. We're not funded by the government or large primes. We're self-funded. We're funded by you and by me. We make this training possible for small businesses out there and all the other content that we provide. And so on their behalf, I just want to say thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and get deeper into finding opportunities. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about as it relates to finding opportunities, before you can go find an opportunity, you have to have a clear, focused offer. You have to know what your company sells, right? And this is really important. I want to pause for a second and just talk about this idea of having a niche and understanding that when you have a niche, and what a niche means is that you're narrowing down on one thing you might sell. I had a customer who was in construction. They did multiple things like flooring and painting, et cetera. But they actually, when we worked with them, they narrowed it down to elevators for 2 reasons. One was because that's the work they really kind of wanted, and it was a highly profitable one. But it was also really easy for them to get in and do work and then expand once they're in, saying, yes, we do this other type of construction work. And I'm working with other companies that are in cybersecurity and helping them zero down, no pun intended, on zero trust architecture, which is kind of a buzzword in the cybersecurity world right now. But if you can get in with a niche like that, that really helps. And so think about your niche. This is why I'm saying in the chat, put what does your company do, right? I'm looking at one person here and I just see e-learning development in section 508. George, that's really good because it drives into my head, especially Section 508. But e-learning, right? That's niching down. And sometimes this can feel difficult, or it can be difficult because you're feeling FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. If I say I niche down on just elevators or just zero trust, then I'm not able to do this other stuff. Well, the reality is, if you say you do everything, most people will look at you and say, well, I'll come back when I have a need for everything. But right now I have a need for something. And you want to get known for something to start, to get going. And especially when you're trying to find opportunities, when you have a clear focused offer and you've niched down, it not only makes it really easy to identify what slam dunk opportunities are, because if I say that I do SharePoint migrations, well, now I'm looking for opportunities that are SharePoint migration type opportunities. I might expand that up and say I do SharePoint services. So now I'm looking for SharePoint migration, SharePoint application development, but I'm still looking for SharePoint, right? So I have this ability to really know what a slam dunk opportunity is when I see it, because I have a clear focused offer. When I also have that niche down, clear focused offer, it helps me understand who I would go into, which offices are best or most likely to be having requirements that I can support. So SharePoint, it might be an IT shop. I wanted to share a quick story just on somebody I was working with this past week. I don't know if it was this week, it was last week. And we were talking about her niched offer, her focused offer. And when we were saying, okay, what do you sell? What do you say you sell right now? There was two kind of main components. One was acquisition support or contract support inside of a contract shop within an agency. And that was one thing. And that's kind of unique because a lot of people will shy away from that type of work because there might be conflict of interest. If you're not familiar with this, if you do work within a contracting shop, sometimes you're not able to participate on other opportunities because they're worried about a conflict of interest where your company might be aware of things that competitors are not, right? So there's a concern many companies have, and they don't want that work in the acquisition shop. But she likes that work. In fact, if she could build a company all around that specialty, she would love it. And the reality is there's contracting shops everywhere, right? DoD has 185,000 acquisition personnel. There's a lot of room for her to grow a business in that space. The other thing she said that she sells is, she called it facility support, but she was also describing it as administrative support. So think mail services or document management, records management, things like that. And the idea when we were looking at that is it was too different. And what I was asking her was, if somebody comes along and says, do you want to do this kind of just mail services over here or something? That's not what you said you want to build. You said you want to build an acquisition type company, a contracting thing. And what we did is took these admin support services and said, look, those are enablers. They're enablers to the contract activity that you want to do. So we do contract support or acquisition support for federal agencies, and these items are enablers. And so this is a way you can kind of niche down. I've done it with other firms where you have technology thing you do, but really those are enablers to some bigger thing. And so in order to find good opportunities, you want to niche down, right? You want to have that clear focused offer. Put that into the chat here. Just put clear focused offer into the chat, or better yet, just put 2 or 3 words so I can go, hey, that you're getting the clear focused offer. Okay, so as we do that, and as you do that in the chat, if you're participating in there, I want to move on to what are opportunities. And it sounds like such a weird question, right? We all know what an opportunity is. Why are you even talking about this? The biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it took place at all. And the reason I like that quote so much, the biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it took place at all. The reason I like it so much is because I've experienced this my entire career in project management teams, where you go in and people are talking to each other, around each other, and you're thinking you're agreeing to stuff, and you walk away and you come back, it's like, that's not what we agreed to. And so communication, it's vital that you take the time to make sure that we agree. So when I said that small businesses need to be writing 4 proposals, it's like, well, how on earth can we do that? That's so many proposals out there. You're crazy. I'm not crazy. Well, now I feel crazy. But anyways, when you're writing 4 proposals per month, right? That seems like a lot until you begin to understand where could those opportunities come from. So I want to talk about 11 opportunities really quick, or 11 paths, right? Remember the tip at the very beginning of the training, for those of you who were here early and on time, I said, think outside the box, think of many different paths. And so in this case, I want to talk about 11 types of opportunities that could fill your pipeline. in no particular order, and none of these should be surprising. What should be surprising is when I say it, you go, oh yeah, oh yeah. That's what I'm really looking for when I share something with you. I'm not trying to share some secret sauce. There is no secret sauce. There's only a process, right? And so the first place that you would find opportunities, first type of opportunities, not even place, first type of opportunities are opportunities that are forecasted. The agencies are saying, hey, we plan on having this opportunity. In one way or another, they let us know. That's the first one. These are forecasted opportunities in the future. The second type of opportunities that you can find to add to your opportunity are expiring opportunities. So these are opportunities that have happened in the past and they're expiring in the next 6 to 12 to 24 months or whatever, right? And so these are expiring contracts. Contracts we see in the future and contracts that are expiring. Sometimes you might also hear them called new and recompete. Third one is new ideas. And this is my all-time favorite as a salesperson. New ideas is this ability to go into a government agency and talk to them about what you sell, your services, your products. I talked about this person who wants to be in the contracting shop. Just this morning, I posted I don't know if you saw this on LinkedIn, but I posted it's not a forecast, but it's kind of a briefing to industry about all these key opportunities. And what I liked about it is it's in the Army and this is where she wants to go and where she's got past performance. The part that's beautiful is none of the opportunities are what she wants, but every single one of the opportunities on this 30 or 40 page slide deck has one or two contracting officers responsible for that opportunity. That is who she can call, right? But so you can, she can go in and just talk to these people. And often you might find that they haven't put it down as a formal, hey, we have this requirement, we want to go forward. But when you come in and you talk about it, you might be able to get them thinking about it and moving forward. Fourth one. So the fourth and fifth one, right? These are different ways you can look at this, but prime task orders and then prime contract vehicles. And so the type of opportunities that could go in are prime task orders, anything you would see in any of the tools or on contract vehicles. And the fifth one is prime contract vehicles. You want to get contract vehicles into your pipeline, right? The earlier you are in, the newer you are to federal contracting, the less you want to focus on vehicles at the moment and just get on teams and subcontract, et cetera, and then task orders. But as you move forward, you absolutely always want to have contract vehicles in your pipeline and task orders. Task orders are any way you want to describe a contract, but basically, here's the requirement, here's the money. Contract vehicles, there is no money. That's the only big difference if you haven't tracked on the task order and contract vehicle. So 6 through 11 are about subcontracting, and these are the ones I want you to think about. Opportunities that could go into your pipeline, how you can think about finding opportunities. You could sub under a large business. Number 7, you can sub under a small business. You can sub under an 8A business. You can sub under a woman-owned small business. You can sub under a HUBZone business, and you can sub under a service-disabled veteran-owned small business. When we look to our pipeline, and when I'm filling a pipeline, I'm looking at each one of those groups, in particular the small business programs, because there's unique set-asides for each one of them. I'm working with a customer right now who's on 8A Stars 3. We track heavily that contract vehicle. So these opportunities are set aside to a vehicle and they're set aside to a small business program, the 8A program, right? And so we track on those. We want to find 8A opportunities to get into our pipeline. Because we're not an 8A, or let's say I'm not an 8A, then the only way I'm getting on those is subcontracting. But when I'm trying to fill my pipeline, if I was your boss and I'm looking at how you're filling the pipeline, you tell me you're going after DHS or whatever, I would look at all 11 of these and say, hey, have you identified HUBZone opportunities that you can participate on as a team? Do you even have strategic partners that you can go after? So keep that in mind as you go forward. There are many types of opportunities that could be filling your pipeline, and you should be trying to get as many of those going into your pipeline. Again, this goes back to how hard would it be to write 4 proposals a month if you had a whole bunch of teaming partners in all these different categories, in addition to your prime opportunities and your writing proposals. So that was just a quick thing on what are opportunities, because I want you to think about what they are and where, as I get ready to tell you where you can find them. The broader you see the definition of what is an opportunity, the more chance you're going to see opportunities and you're going to begin to think outside that box. So let's talk about some tools you can use to find opportunities. I want to talk about five. I don't know why I hide my thumb behind my hand. I want to talk about 5 opportunities or 5 tools that you can use to find opportunities. And none of these are radical, right? Again, first one, agency forecast. So the agency is telling you, you want to be tracking on, like DHS has a very fancy tool, very sophisticated tool. Other agencies and commands, they just use a spreadsheet. Doesn't matter what it is. You want to find in your target agency, the agency forecast, and you will find opportunities on there coming up soon and going out a couple years often. The second one is FPDS. So I talked about expiring contracts. FPDS is a list of all the contracts that have been awarded. You can look to find ones that are expiring. We do this all the time. I look for particular contract vehicles and I see what's expiring on that vehicle. And I know it's going to be generally coming up for recompete, right? This is an awesome place to find opportunities. It doesn't mean I pick it up, dump it right into my pipeline, by the way. I pick it up and I say, well, let me look a little bit more. I might do a quick call to the contracting officer and say, do you expect this to come out again? I might go look into SAM or somewhere else that I can find it. And that brings me to number 3. The third place that tool that you can use to find opportunities is SAM. So SAM has awards, so you can look in there to find expiring contracts as well. But it also has new solicitations coming out, new sources sought, or RFIs that are dropping. So in there, you can find a lot. SAM does not have every opportunity that's out there. It's really important to keep in mind. GovWin, if you're a person who uses GovWin does not have every opportunity that's out there. First off, they only have what they have as it relates to prime contracts, but they don't have access to a lot of vehicles. And there's certain agencies where they just have less traction because, as far as I can tell, they just don't call into those agencies. And so it's important when you look at SAM or GovWin or any of these tools, they're just one spot, but they're not the definitive source. There's many places you're going to look, but SAM is a fantastic resource to be able to find opportunities that might fit for you in your target agency. USA spending is similar to FPDS, right? It has the previous data. It just has a different way of looking at it. I love it because it's a very user-friendly system to be able to look at. I can see spending a lot easier. If I'm targeting a particular set of opportunities and maybe I'm looking at my competitor, a particular competitor, and they're doing, let's say, $50 or $100 million, and I want to get traction on that, I can go into USA spending and look at where they've been getting their money and how it's, I can see a lot of different reports very quickly that just show me which agencies or subordinate agencies are getting it from, how much money have they been winning, and then what are the opportunities so I can dig further into them. Often what I do is I go into USA spending, find somebody, and then go back to SAM and find the original documentation that'll tell me more about the opportunity so I can learn about it and decide if I want to put it into my pipeline. And the last one I want to share about what tools you can use to find opportunities are industry day decks. I just mentioned this earlier about the Army, and I've done multiple briefing decks about the Army recently in the last month or two. And in this one I just shared today, I think I should have numbered it, but there was at least 20 different opportunities that they had in there. And most of these opportunities were like 100 million plus, which is kind of the world I like playing in, right? So they're 100 million plus, but you can be a very new business. And if it makes sense, you can be reaching out to the incumbents that are on there and see if there's room on the team. Or if you're trying to get into the Army, in this particular case, I can learn about the opportunity. And then through my relationships, let's say with another small business, but it's doing $20 million a year, I can say, hey, I know you're in the Army. Are you going after this bigger opportunity? Is there room for me, right? A little piece, a bigger piece, what can I provide? But that's a way to find opportunities. You can both prime as or to find that you like and you know you can fill one part of it and identify companies you can subcontract with. So hopefully that makes sense on those tools. If any of them surprised you, let me know. If any of them are your favorite, tell me which one's your favorite in the chat. I'm curious. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up today's training with a lot. I want to tell you who you can talk to. So I talked a minute ago about what tools you can use to find opportunities, right? Typical tools. Now I want to talk about who you can talk to, who will tell you about opportunities. And I've got 12 different types of people that could tell you about opportunities. And so I want you to think about these people as I talk about them. Every one of them has the potential of letting you know about an opportunity coming down the pike. And if any of them are your favorite, put it in the chat. Let other people know, hey, these are my favorite. These are the best kind of thing. If any surprise you, put it in. Let me know. Okay, so starting off, we're going to go through 12 of these. And at some points, I'll just go through pretty fast. Other points, I might talk about why you really want to pay attention to it. But before I get started, I just want to talk about it's very important to be building relationships. We say this all the time in government contracting, but really it's fundamental to sales. In order to be successful in sales, you must build relationships. You must start and build relationships. Through these relationships, you will be able to hear about opportunities. You'll be able to learn about your agency. You'll be able to find other people to get introduced to, right? So you want to build relationships as you go out there. I've got a whole set of training that I've done on building relationships. For those of you in the GovCon Chamber of Commerce sustaining members, I think I have a whole course on starting and building relationships in there. But just for anybody else on YouTube, I've got a ton of videos on building relationships because it's so important. How do you build relationships is what my training is about. So in again, no particular order, but the first place or first person who can tell you about opportunities is a small business specialist. Build a relationship with them, stay on their radar throughout the years. And when they hear about opportunities, they will remember you because you keep coming back saying, hey, we do SharePoint services, for example. If you're on their radar once a month, you're coming back and just touching base, just checking in. When they have an opportunity, it comes internally to them, says, hey, do you know anybody? They're going to know. And this will be common for everybody, right? Is you want to stay on their radar, building that relationship so they know who you are, so that when the time comes that they need somebody like you or a company like yours, they'll remember you. It's the same reason I say help buyers remember who you are by putting your core competency into the chat. Second one at an agency is the contract specialist and contracting officer, right? These people are awesome because they hear about opportunities at the earliest stage. When a program office is beginning to decide and they're going down this formal process, then they engage the acquisition personnel. And so building a relationship, being on the radar of a contracting officer or specialist will allow you to get that traction. I told a story earlier about Shauna Weatherly, a friend of all of ours on LinkedIn here and in the community, sustaining member. Thank you, Shauna. She's a former contracting officer and supervisor, contracting officer, branch chief or whatever. She spent her career in the government as a contracting professional. And she talked about a small business coming in and staying on her radar. They didn't really have a lot of experience early on in the federal space. They had skills, but they stayed on there. And because they did their homework on her agency, she was willing to keep talking with them through the year. And eventually they actually got a first contract because they happen to have this relationship. And then they eventually got their ideal contract with that agency. And all of it came from just, again, that starting and building the relationship with somebody. So those three were in the agency, or those three were in the agency: small business specialist, contracting specialist, contracting officer. The next one is the small business the next two are small business administration personnel. So this one is the PCR, the procurement center representative. In particular, if your company is doing, let's say, 5 million plus, then you should know who the PCR is, because one of the PCR's biggest roles, in my way of saying it, is to stop opportunities that could go small going large. Well, if that's the case, then really the likelihood of the opportunity going large is realistic. And so they need to see companies, in my opinion, doing 5 million plus, 20 million, for example, but are still smalls. And so you need to be on their radar. And they hear about opportunities from all the agencies that they support. There's an official process to it. Talk with a PCR. Ask them about that process and understand it and how you fit in. And again, just stay on their radar. Go to the events that they speak at, whatever. Okay, the next one at the SBA is the district office. In particular, there's a particular role called the business opportunity specialist. They tend to focus a lot of their effort on 8A and managing the 8A program, but they're there for all of us small businesses. But they often could hear about opportunities from the agencies that they support. They might reach in and say, hey, we're looking for a hub zone firm that does this, for example, or a woman-owned small business. And so having a relationship with them is important. And it's the same thing with number 6. This is the PTAC counselor, right? They call themselves APAC now, but PTAC counselors, these folks are often contacted by the agencies that are in their geographical area saying, hey, we're looking for small businesses to come in and talk to our program offices or to participate on an opportunity. Next one, program office personnel. This one should be a given, but you want to get to know program office personnel. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I posted a link. I did a LinkedIn post, and this one in there, it was a slide deck again. And in there, it listed all these different program personnel from CISA that you could reach out to. So it's Homeland Security's CISA agency. You could reach out there and talk to them. But by having a relationship with them, understanding their needs, talking about their goals, by having a relationship, you can begin to hear about opportunities. You know what? We don't have anything now, but I know next year we've got this big initiative coming down. You should track on that, right? They're not giving you inside information. They're just engaging industry. They're talking. And so you want to have that relationship. The last 5 I want to mention are on industry side. So for small businesses, you want to engage small business owners. An example is if I'm trying to get my customer I was talking about into the Army, I'm going to go see who's winning in the Army. And then I'm going to find the small business owner for the small businesses. Each one of those 5 categories that I talked about, I'm going to find the business owner. And through the relationship with them, I might hear about opportunities. We got this opportunity coming out. It's got an artificial intelligence component that we don't do AI. I'd love to have you come in and do that since that's your specialty, right? That kind of thing. In a large business, there's 4 types of people that I'd encourage you to pay attention to who can let you know about opportunities, mostly about opportunities to subcontract with them, right? But the first one is the Small Business Liaison Officer, SBLO, right? The next one is I group them together, but business developers in a large business and capture people. It's the same as everywhere else. Business developers are trying to churn up opportunities, learn about the agencies, and capture driving home the win, right? But those groups of people are focused on obviously opportunities that they can bring into their business, but they're wanting to build teams as well. So building a relationship with them that lasts over the years, you will hear opportunities from these people. And when you have strategic relationships, you're meeting on a regular basis with folks like these guys. Number 11 is large business program managers on the task order. So the ones who are working at the customer site or for the contract on the delivery side, that program manager, if you can find them and build a relationship, this is especially easy when you're in the same agency, let's say, and you've got one small contract, they got this big one. You can begin to build that relationship. But I've also introduced people through a small business specialist to a large prime program manager doing the work at an agency. And then they have been able to hear about opportunities. And the last one, that's the delivery program manager. The last one is large business contract vehicle program managers. So they run Oasis or all the GSA vehicles or Seaport Next Gen, et cetera. So they're tracking on the opportunities coming in. If you build a relationship with them, get on their radar, when people on their inside their business are looking to go after opportunities using that vehicle, or they hear about opportunities using that vehicle, this person might be able to let you know about an opportunity. There might be a fit for you in there on this. So keep in mind, without process, right, everything's going to seem difficult. But when you follow a process, finding opportunities for your pipeline, it's just going to get easier and easier. If you found today's training valuable, do me a favor, become a sustaining member of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. And if your company's already making money, but you want some help going to the next level, consider my BD Accelerator workshop. You just ping me on LinkedIn and we could talk more about it. And remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.